Well, welcome to the Dream Labs. I am Dr. Contrast, and we are live. Sure enough, as soon as I get started, my voice goes on me. But anyway, welcome aboard, everybody. I'm hoping all is well with you, and thank you so much for tuning in today. And just before I begin, I want to take a moment here to thank all of you who have been watching on this program for the last 2 to 3 weeks on this marker series. Very interesting subject matter, obviously, to deal with. I don't want anybody to feel intimidated by it. It's not one of those situations where it should be fearful. It should be inciting and a very, very promising approach to putting your sketches into animated life and having a lot of fun with it and making the process and especially the medium work for you. So thank you so much for the time, and I thought we'd take a moment here today. I'm going to concentrate on today's stream on a very, hey, hello, Ann Terrace, how are you? Good to have you on board, and thank you so much for just tuning in. And I did receive your email and on your most recent sketches, and I do want you to know, never ever be discouraged about sending me information. The more sketches you send, the happier I become. I'm just really happy to help you. I did have a chance to look at your sketches, but I haven't had a chance to evaluate them yet. So maybe sometime before you're on your trip, I'll get back with you on information on some of the questions you had during that text. So thank you so much for the information you sent, and I hope all is well with you. And so this is going to be a fun day today. I think it's going to be a situation where I'm going to come out of the gates with a very simple comment here, but hopefully I hope one that really helps everybody. And that is, when you get into animation and gesture, that becomes a very much of an imagination piece. And I want to be very careful to begin this process today by allowing everyone to be aware of the fact that this is not a mandatory piece at all. If you have a certain approach to designing and working with this media, fantastic. No need to get into anything that's going to be overwhelming to you at all. And I just want to make that clear. We're going to see some things today that are much more gesturally, much more animated. They're fictitious in a sense, and it comes from a lot of practice. And I don't want anybody feeling, for example, that this is how it has to be done. It does not have to be done like that. To me, it's another way of saying that when your sketches are put together, there's nothing greater, for example, than when you work with a client, and I'll say this right from the get-go, and it's the truth. Very truthful. When you send sketches out with a lot of animation and gesture and character into them, what that does for your client base is instill confidence and respect for you. That tells them, the client, for example, whomever you're working with, that you have a vested interest in their product, and that makes a huge difference. I mean, I've gone through the years working with multiple, I've still had the same client base I had some 15, 20 years ago. Because I built that relationship. They know when I send sketches, for example, or ideas or illustrations, my heart is in it. And that's what the whole idea behind this animation and gesturing process is all about. Putting spirit in your work and character in your design ideas that send a signal to your client base that, boy, I know what I'm doing here, and I'm glad to be a part of the process with you. So all that to say, thanks so much, and hey, very good. This Antares doing very well, thanks. And just I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can, Antares. But again, once again, never forget to just send information you've got. The more you practice at it, and I'll take a look at these guys. I looked at one that said it passes. So far, so good, but you had a couple of questions, and I'll make sure to address them. So, all that to say, too, let's do this. I'm going to go back to a real quick review, just to kind of wrap things up here today if we possibly can. This will be the third series in this whole marker process piece, which I think has been a lot of fun. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have putting the presentation on. So let's go back and just real quickly review some things, and I'm going to go into some sketch illustrations of how animation and gesture works, and some very simple product work, and I'll show you some additional things at the end of the program here. So let's get right with it here. Let's go back. I think the most important thing we said in the first program, was the fact that this whole idea of getting into media work or any design concept work relies on an understanding of the basic geometric solids, how they function, and what their constitution is. In addition to that, what light source does. Light source and the solids work hand in hand, and the more you understand the geometry thereof, the stronger your sketches are going to become. No question about that whatsoever. So just very quickly here, for what it's worth, pardon me again, this whole idea how to work with this thing. If you have an element, this is a very simple cube process here, leading edge, but light source again from the left-hand side, always go light to dark, and then dark to light. And we explain why. You go light to dark because of fade, and you go dark to light because of reflected light back in this corner here. Same thing is happening on the top of the system. So, as we said before, there are three forms of light source we're dealing with in this whole idea of marker composition work, and it's simply this. You've got direct light source, you've got an ambient light source, and you have a reflective light source. All three function very separately, but yet integratedly in putting together the geometric solids. So that was the first thing we discussed. Let's get these out of the way. Second one was just putting a simple pass with a number 2 cool gray. The idea behind that idea of putting these little thumbnail sketches together is to work that light to dark, dark to light, light to dark. And to show you, for example, that the idea of getting that process to work for you is to smooth things out, clean transitions from one transition of shape to another. I've seen an awful lot of things in textbooks and even in education and academia where they actually, this goes light, this goes a bit darker, and that goes lighter. I'm not a big fan of filling it in like that. I think putting more emotion in your sketches is far more accountable and far more inspiring than just going into simple pieces of here and there about making it all flat and blocky. So that was an illustration, again, is in that whole idea of light to dark, dark to light, and again, light to dark. Was a simple markup. Then the next sketch we did in a couple of streams was to show you what the solids do. I think the most important part about the solids here, especially a cylinder, is is the idea that when you get into this thing, again, light source from the left-hand side, look how we leave a little bit of highlight here, take it around the corner from light to dark, and then leave a little bit of highlight there. What that helps you do is help to take your eye around the form, and it begins to put more substance into the shape as opposed to filling it all in. When you fill it all in, oddly enough, it flattens right out. You don't want to do that. So that's another little review piece here. Again, let me switch gears. Then we took a little bit of that same process, again, light to dark, and again, light to dark, and then light to dark. And even on the reflected surface, this is picking up ground surface here, or base, and the shadow. Notice the trick here is to get this thing to work properly. Had we kept the light source on the left-hand side, I switched the light source over to the right-hand side to get that shadow to work, to get more definition of that whole front face. So that was the reason behind that, just in that area right there. And again, notice what happens when you start sketching or drawing back into the form. It makes a huge difference as well. So that's very, very helpful too. So we'll show you a little bit of that today about getting the form down, putting the media in, and then come back into the drawing detail to give your sketches much more what I refer to as spizzerinctum. Spizzerinctum is putting spirit and soul into your work. So that's another little theme here. Now, let's go back into this thing. I've got some sketches put together here. I'm going to start working on these guys. And I've just left some rough forms put together here today. And to make sure, to save time, I put a little bit of time into getting the shadows down and some of the hard graphics to put together. So let's go back in and look at this whole process. Let's start with this whole thing here. Let's go back in and we'll start putting this process together. Very lightly, come back in. Dark to light. One more pass. Dark to light. Same thing on top of the dome there. There it is. Come back in here a little bit. Now, this is going to be the fun part. Now, we're going to color. We go back and I'm going to rotate the page here a little bit. And in fact, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to work, since the light source is coming from the left-hand side, I'm going to come in and pass from the left to the right. And I'm going to go backwards, for example, and go this way. Come back in. Come back in. A little bit of outside highlight line. Come back in again. Go right down to the side. Right down the spine of the form. Spine of the form. Leave a little bit in here. Come back on as I move toward the light source. I'm going to lighten that thing right up and just come right back in and just add a lot. Now look at that shape starts to take some form, light to dark. If you want to go back in a little bit more, that's great. Come back in, add a little bit more of a fast, lighter hand, heavier pressure, heavier pressure, heavier pressure, pressure, pressure. Look how that begins to take that shape, hopefully into some sort of form. Is that making sense, gang, so far? It all comes down to hand pressure. Let's rotate it again, hand pressure. I can take this side here, come back in, a little bit darker, a little bit darker, animate back, animate back. Look at the form you're getting there. Again, same thing here. I can go back to the light horse side, and come back into that. Animation, much more character. Instead of filling it all in, let me stop right there. So begin to start here. It's a big start, but nonetheless, let's see what happens here. Let's go back in and get this negative area put in place. Come back in first, tone it in first. Put it all nice and solid. Turn around the corner with it. Again, turn around the corner with it. And rotate here. Get that to fill in. There she is there. Now, 1, 2, 3. A little detail work. Back in again. More core. Dark to light. Helping? Let me stop here for a second. While I was doing those marker sketches I sent you, I really started to realize how sensitive the marker is to pressure and how it really does. Pressure is terrific in this case, in Terrace. Let's go back one more time. If you want to put more dark in this, more light to dark, again, more pressure, hand pressure, standing on it, standing on it, standing on it, loosening it up. And look at that, look at the variation there you're getting with, and now we go back in there a little bit softer, take that right back in there. Look at the variation you're getting there. I mean, it's amazing how that works. So is this helping? I hope. Let's go back in here. Let's go back down the line here just a little bit more. I'm going to come back in there with a little bit of drawing definition now. Oh, let me do this first. Let's get this down first. Come right around here. That's it. I'm going to come around the corner. Come around the corner. A little more pressure. A little more of that ring system underneath there. And then very delicately come back in again with that number 3 gray. A little bit of tone to it. A little bit of tone to it. Back in that surface up on top, dark to light. Highlight. Again, tone it in into that shadow area. Toning it into that shadow area. So keeping it nice and simple. And I think it's also very important to ask too, when you're working with this stuff, what really begins to help too, it really becomes a huge asset, is to always work light to dark. Always go light to dark, like I started when I rotated here. In this case, because of a round form, dark to light to get the form to read, but the little subtle places like this, oftentimes it's nice to go light first and then take it in the dark. Let's go back a little bit more tone in here and tone in here. Let's get this in to kind of shadow back a little bit. Shadow back a little bit. Again, notice, come back in. Now, add a little bit of drawing definition. I'm going to stop right here for a moment. Let's come back in there and just change gears here. A little bit of detail there, 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 and again. Now, let's switch gears here. I'm going to come down to about a number 5 gray and really begin to reinforce where that shadow is coming from. Again, reversing it, light, dark to light. Now we're going to go dark to light. And right away, hopefully, this guy's starting to read. Indication of light source. And again, up on top here, indication of light source. And again, back in a little bit more tone here. More tone here. Let's come back in. Put those down for a moment here and come back in and get back to a pencil and just start putting some texture into here. Just a little bit more of that round there. And again, one more time. Take it right around the corner. And again, we'll rotate the pad here. One more reinforcement underneath here. Now those 2 quick passes right there, that's gesture or animation. Put a little more character inside that hollow. And again over here, same thing. Come back and put the shadow in place. And again, same process. Now, if we want to add a little more drama to this thing, you can come back in and add a little bit of pastel by coming back in and just softening that shape off, just enough. And kind of bridging the gap between the marker and the pastel. Helping? This may be very technical, but how do you decide which marker to use to add darker shades? I've seen you sometimes as a darker version of the same color, or other times just grayer. Yeah, I think it's best, and that's a very good question, Terrace. I always like to think in terms of, if very sensitive color, for example, I always like to go light yellow to dark yellow to that, but again, I think pressure changes will do the same thing for us. So notice I put a lot of pressure on this. I got a lot of darker yellow than I did over here. So hand pressure can help that. But under some circumstances, if you're much more comfortable with, for example, going in and really dedicating the whole thing to maybe a light yellow to a medium to a dark, that's fine as well. But the one thing you never do is use black. Black is absolute fatal. You don't want to do that. Is this helping? That answers your question? Hopefully. Good, good, good. Super. Let's go. I'll hold on there until you get your response. So there's number one. It's just a very simple set of circumstances there. I'm not really getting into an awful lot of. I just want to make sure that this animation and this gesture process is making sense for you. Very straightforward. Not a lot of really action here, but I'm just using simple forms to describe the wrap up here on getting into, for example, what gesture does and what animation will do for us. Super. Okay, let's go. Let's move into this thing. Let's go back into the second sketch here. And come back in and pick this guy up. Notice, I'm going to turn it around again. I'm going to work toward the light source. Let that down a little bit. A lot of bleed in that one. Wow. We'll get that back and correct it. Just a moment here. One more pass. A little more animation. Back to light source. Come back up on top here with that number 4 gray, I think. We have it here. Make sure this is going to be all right. That should be good. Again, horizontal surface. I'm going to come right back in through here. Let's go vertical first. Dark to light. Into highlight. And let's get rid of that guy for a moment here. Let's go back to this number 2 or 3 gray. Dark to light. Pick up where that highlight is. Get this design line to come in a little bit. And we'll take that number 3 gray and run that right across the form itself. And again, working horizontally. But I'm going to follow the shape here a little bit. Going to go in the half round and then just begin to release it as I go back into that far side corner. So I'm going to turn this around a little bit. Put that back into play. And then darker here. Let's take this number 5 gray. I think it might be okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of contour change here. Come back in through here. A little more shadow. A little more dark to light. Notice how I'm leaning that stroke right back into the light source. And almost back into where the vanishing point is as well. Taking it right back in space. Again, off to that. That. To that. Add a reflection. Again, dark to light. And again, we'll take the pad here just a moment, pardon me. number 1 gray or 2 gray, where it is, number 3 gray. Bring it right back into play here. There we are. Ooh, so we're putting the down the dark, the light gradient. It's also an option to lay the darker option first, then switch to a lighter marker and blend it. Yeah, you can do that as well. Absolutely, Darius, you can. Let's go back in through here. Get these forms to read into the highlight there. And again, pick up a little bit of that reflection. And again, playing that light source up, getting that right across the shape. Add a little more definition in here. Let's hit that number 5 grade, whatever it is, or number 6 grade. Put a shadow in this thing. Add a little bit of drawing definition. Take that one more pass here, a little bit of shadow inside this piece here. Right back to this lighter gray. Take that in, add a little bit more reflection in there. Carry that on through. Add that on through. And again, last but not least, add a little bit of color here. Again, dark to light. Take that highlight, carry it through. Carry it through. Up on top, same thing. Carry that highlight through. There we are there. Come across this shape. Again, working in the same process since it's almost curvilinear, so a little bit of secant here. Again, working dark to light. And last but not least, put a little bit of detail in this thing there. Hope this is working. Oh, sorry about that. There we are. Could you speak briefly about the theory of adding reflections like you did in the shiny top surface? Or is it possible? No, this is fine. Putting that theory of adding reflections into the shiny top surface. What I've done is, it's imagination, for example, and Terrace, something off the screen, for example, off the page, is reflecting back into that flat surface. So I just dropped a very vertical, straightforward reflection into it. The theory behind that is just, it's getting the environment involved in the sketch itself. Does that help, hopefully? Let me know. I'll just hold on here for a moment. Put a more drawing definition in this guy. Keep these guys, the screen will be in good shape. There we are. Let's get that number 3 gray again, and we'll push a little bit more into this push right here. Get that highlight to really sing a little bit more for us. And come right across that shape and take it right into the form itself. Again, dark to light. There it is, gang. What do you think? Yeah, that helps. Thanks. Safe. Bet you're just dropping some vertical shapes or strokes. And yeah, I think that's absolutely cool. And I'll take that one more time. Off the screen or off the shape page itself, there's something that I'm going to reflect into this form, keeping it that direct. And again, a mirror up on top, and there's my finished reflection. Helping it all, and Terrace, good. You can take that right across and make sure you reinforce that highlight area right there. Let's get this guy one more time. Come back in through here. And again, really get that to reinforce. And last cause, if you wanted to, you can take this thing and start to add some drawing definition into this thing too. There should be. There's 2 variations on theme here. Hope that helps at all, gang. So far, so good. Just making sense. Very good. Thank you so much here. Any other questions? Feel free to fire away here, folks. So there's a pass in, for example, of 2 product designs. We're bringing this whole animation and gesture into place here. So that's one down. Let's go back and look at some other subject matter here just for a second. There's one. There's another one here we'll kind of work with. This has always been I've always had questions about interior space. So I thought I'd put together a little thumbnail sketch on interior space and show you how that works as well, in addition to maybe a vehicle study here, and add a little more pastel detail to it here. So what I'm going to do is show you, for example, an interior space. The idea is to drive the viewer back into the picture plane. So we're going to take this thing here and just slowly but surely start to add a little bit of texture to it. Let that pass a little bit. Come back into this guy. Let me turn this down just a bit. A little lighter. Lighter pressure. Into darker pressure, and take the person right back in to the space. A bit of texture in there. Now, let's go back in and just kind of break the planes a little bit here. Let's go back in and get this guy. Again, to get that shape, I'm going to bring the viewer back into the form here by doing the following: down to the floor surface. Back in again here. the ceiling graphic. What do you think, eh? Making sense? See it coming together? So if you like it, I was just putting a mechanical gradient, but sometimes you're laid in with some choppy. Yeah, very definitely. You can do that by all means. Now, I'm going to come back in and just kind of put a little bit of tone to this. Bring the viewer back in just a bit more. Just using a gray to kind of value that off a little bit tone change in here. And again, let's kind of hold that back for a moment. Let's take that number 3 gray, wherever that is. There she is. Come back in here and just pick up some of the ceiling graphics. Oh, let's put that aside here for a moment. Again, let's get this number 2 gray to kind of work for us here. We'll kind of pull that out of here. This guy here, operate a little bit. Now let's get the ceiling to work for us here a little bit. Let the ceiling do the same kind of exciting drawing back into this thing here. And we come back in. A little bit more drawing definition in this glass area here. To the slighter beige. Let's put this guy together. Let's see, stop right there. Is that making sense, gang? Right, is not always just perfect make out, but yeah, there you go. 3 gray. Might get that shadow to work a little bit better for us. Now, just a little bit of finessing here. Let's do this just for a moment. Let's go back in there and add a little more definition. All right, let me stop there for a moment. Making sense here? These demos, sometimes the info takes some time to sink in my head, but once it does, I'm hearing light bulb moments in my. Yeah, I think this is almost that's how we're treating this thing here. Now we can kind of run through this guy real quickly here, and we'll get this guy to kind of tune in, and we'll switch gears again. Again, notice you can go back in here and add a lot more definition, a little bit of detail to it. Here, let's get these definitions here. Just a lot more drawing in this guy to kind of pick out some of the textures and the detail and so forth. Is this making sense, gang? Hopefully, interesting following so far. Let's go back in and put a little more graphics in this thing. Now, last but not least, a bit of texture in this thing here. Go back to adding media. Come back in here and just hit. And begin to do the following here. Again, the light source. And again, light source, shadow. And there it is. What do you think, gang? Etching in the black pen. This is more depth. Yeah, I think you just come back in and adding a more definition to the actual shape itself really helps, I think. So, I mean, that just about does it there as far as the detail goes. You can come back in, for example, and you want to add more animation to that ceiling to kind of bring it all together. You can drive the viewer back a bit more by doing the following. You can come back in here, add one more pass of this thing, or coming in and say, okay, let's do this. Let's come back in one more time. A little bolder, a little stronger, and you get that stroke pattern to really work for you. And reanimate that ceiling to kind of give it a lot more impact or jump. So I think the same thing here, the floor. You can go back in up front and then drive the viewer back in there by just inviting them right back into the shape. Same thing again, one more pass. And there it is, kind of pushing it all together there. Is that helping, gang? Let me stop there for a moment. Those of you who are watching or viewing in here, I hope this is kind of a helpful thing. Interior space is a different animal. You're bringing with a lot of textures and change here. So I think it requires a lot more drawing back in to define some of the shapes you're dealing with here. And while I'm at it, I forgot to just add this, just for what it's worth. And more definition. There she is. So anyhow, I mean, very quick and simple here. Here we go for this now. Now let's go back to this guy here. This is going to be an interesting one here. Just going to get these guys all lined up where we need them. And put that aside for the time being. A little bit of a value shift here. Let's go back and get that number 3 grade to work for us here. Yeah, here she is. Let's come back in and really use a little bit of a different approach here. Come back in underneath. Underneath. And again, let's go back in here. Now let's switch gears here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's take this guy and do a little bit of graphics to it here. That says on the screen. There we are. All right. Just laying in some very quick graphics. Now we're going to go extremely reflective. We all set here, gang. There's the graphic pattern we're going to deal with. Now I'm going to lay in some darks first, and we'll kind of get right back at it here. See, make sure we get these corners tuned in. See the pattern we're starting to establish here? Add the ceiling. Yeah, I think it's just being bold with that ceiling graphic there, I think, Antares. But don't be afraid of it. Just go through and experiment with it, and it'll all work out well, hopefully. Let's see, let's get this guy tuned in here just a bit more. That. Now let's come back in here, a little bit of tone for glass. And we'll come back to that just a moment here with a number, hopefully number 5 gray. This will cooperate for us. Yeah. See the pattern emerging here? I'll pull it on. Now what's coming? What up, Art? Hey, Wild Goose, how are you? Good to have you on board, man. Awesome work. Sorry I'm late. No, not a problem at all. Good to have you on board, Wild Goose. I'm just taking you through some graphic presentation stuff here. So let's kind of get this down. We're slowly building the graphics to come off the page with this guy. Is this helping, guys? A little bit more of a reflective piece here. This is much more reflective, so a little bit more animation involved in this thing here. So let's keep going. All right, here we go. Now, here comes the fun part. I'm going to stop right there for a moment. Let me just do one last thing here before we add into this. A little bit more tone in this thing. All right, ready? This is the fun part. Now, Notice we've kept some areas open here. This is reflection. This is going to be all surface up on top of the sky side. So I'm going to switch gears here and add some pastel by doing the following. Watch what happens. Now we're going to model it. And blend it. And back up on top here. Now, the fun part here is you get one of these guys, if I can find it here. Hopefully. Yeah, there it is. Come back in, hit the hot spot. Hit the hot spot. Back to highlight. Back to highlight. Back to highlight. And let me just clean this up a little bit. Let's see what we've got here. Coming together. And there she is. Helping, gang. Now notice how is that reading? That helping to read okay? I'm going to stop there just for a moment. Let's take a moment here and let you kind of fill in here. Add a little bit more form into this thing, into that blister, and a little more into this. And then just to catch a bit of highlight down below here. There we are. Let's see what we got here. Let's go back in and get this guy filled in just a touch. Just going to fill this in. All right, let me stop right there. What do you think, gang? It's making sense? Nice. You're blocking the sharp reflection pattern with the marker, then add the softer reflection. Yep, there it is. That's the idea of getting much more. Notice it's going from light to dark. And I think that same process, even though we're doing the same thing here, dark to light, bringing the viewer on in. Same thing here. And the process has not changed one iota. Let's get a little more of this roof pattern in here. We'll kind of call it a day. There it is. A little more hot spot right in there. And again, notice how reflective that begins to look, especially the nice thing about pastel, as an added medium, you can come back in and begin to take this thing and just eliminate where you don't need it. Come right back to highlight, right back to highlight, back to highlight, and so on. You kind of chunk into this one too. It's just a great medium to work with because it saves an awful lot of time and effort, and it's simple, and it's quick and it's very direct. So last but not least, let's just add a couple more pieces here. Let me get this out of the way. And last but not least, a little bit more definition. And entry egress. And last but not least, a little bit of a venting system here. And one last shot. And there it is. Well, there it is, gang. What do you think? Is this making sense at all, hopefully? These the different examples all the way down the line here. Started out with these two products. Let's kind of clear some things out here so we can kind of look at these guys in progression, where we started and where we've ended up, for example. That's the latest sketch we've done. Is it adding some of this stuff to it? I mean, look at the difference. We kind of get that in there or not, I'm not sure. How's that? Nice. So you're blocking, sharp the pad. Yep. Again, notice the difference here, guys. I mean, they're very simple. Just very interesting in terms of approach. Dark to light. Dark to light. Again, dark to light, bringing everybody back in, inviting the viewer back into the shape. Again, same thing, light to dark. And that whole process, we're following my light source and putting the shadows down. Those high impact areas really give this thing a presence. And I'm going to stop here for a moment just to kind of make sure that we understand what the method is here. The method, as we said at the very beginning of the program, is simply the more gesture or more animation you put inside your sketches, and the more you give it imagination and the more you give it gesture and animation, the more spirit you have in your sketches. I mean, you send those out to clients. It's amazing the number of clients that just tell you, man, this work has got a lot of spirit. Yeah, that's what it's for. I mean, we can you can go through a series of marker sketches, be very flat and non-dynamic. It'll get the job done, but it doesn't have your personality into it. That's what I'm trying to get across here in this stream. That you all have talent out there. Take advantage of that talent and just run like gangbusters with it and be animated with it. If you make mistakes, make mistakes. I've said before, one of the most important things about making mistakes is that's where the miracles live. If you don't make those mistakes, you never learn. So I'm really adamant about getting into this whole idea of being extremely powerful in terms of going in there and being graphic with it, being dramatic with it, and having fun with this stuff, and making sure that you're not intimidated by it, that you're really free by it. It's freedom. A lot of freedom here, so hopefully that helps, gang. And hey, Wild Goose, thank you very much for joining us. It's really great. So nice. Number 2, really good. This one you're referring to? Yeah, I think that second sketch just gets a lot more reflective. Keeps it nice and light as you go back into it. Picks up a lot of reflection. And again, the lower piece, for example, making some sense here. So hope that really helps, guys. I mean, I'm really happy you're on board here today. So thank you so much. These are four different ways of looking at this whole idea of adding method, gesture, and also animation. Very straightforward marker again here, marker again, a little bit of drawing, a little bit of color pencil, and then this is again marker and pastel. Variations are infinite, but the process, as we said before, whenever we start these programs, for example, I've always made this very clear, hopefully to everybody involved, that the process that we work with will always be consistent, that the products will change. Light to dark is always going to be there. Volumetrics are always going to be there. The 5 solids are always going to be there. And that's something you have to deal with and work with. And the more you understand it, the more powerful it's going to become. There's no question about that. It's just phenomenal. So, really cool stuff, guys. Hoping this is helping. Let's go after one last thing here, and we'll call it a day. I'll go back to a real quick review. So there we are. Got those 2 guys out of the way. That's it. And let's try this guy. This is an architectural piece. Again, you're not going to see an awful lot of real drama in this guy, because it's basically a lot of flat surfaces, and it's probably a poured concrete building, so we'll keep it pretty straightforward. But there's some areas there we can kind of work with to get it to animate just a bit. So let's kind of go down the line here, 2, 3, and let's see, number 5 gray. I think this might work here. Let's get the shadows out of the way first. Got all the low profile stuff out of the way here. Make sure this doesn't bleed on me too badly here. There we go. We'll come back and pick up a little drawing on this stuff once we stain in some of the surfaces we're working with here. And that one. Let's get all these negatives to work. Do a shadow. Again, lower into a shadow. Get all the under surfaces first. There we go. Just laying in the graphics. We're getting the planes to start here for us. Let's get a shadow here, a little shadow there, and let's go back in. Now, we're going to pick up some of the very light surfaces first. Let's go back in and get the number 1 gray and stain in some of these. I can find it here. Oh, there it is. We're going to take that number 1 gray and come back in and just get some of the surfaces blotted in here. Take that into that. Into this. And we'll turn the corner as we go here. I'm just staining them in. We'll change venue in just a moment here. All the same tone, very simple, straightforward, very static, but at the same time, we'll add excitement by drawing back into this thing. Now let's come forward on the picture plane. Now, it's going to separate these guys just a little bit. Number 2 gray. Change tempo here a little bit. Let's get that glass surface in there first. What do you think there, guys? Yeah, it is. Gesture drawing is a key to all of it. It truly, truly is. Well, it goes well said. All right. Let's kind of define a little bit here. Let's see, we'll come back in here very lightly. Bit of that. A little bit of this. Dull it down just a bit. And reflect that back into the grass just a touch. Nice cheat job there, but nonetheless it worked, hopefully. Then take this guy. And there she is. That's fantastic. Really appreciate the inclusion of the architectural demo. Very helpful. Yeah, that's great. So it's just a nice and flat, but not a lot of animation here. So let's kind of finish this one up by doing one last little trick here. A bit of pencil added, put more definition into this thing. And let me see here. Let's go back and, oh yeah, I forgot to do this too. Sorry about that. Just got to fill in the blanks a little bit here. And let's define it. And if I can find it here, one last, oh, there it is. One last shot at it here. And that's it. What do you think, gang? Really helpful? I hope that's been of some consideration and help. Just a variety of textures here, and this last one to go around here. And let me just wrap up by doing this. I just brought along some other, what might be coming down the line here. Let's get rid of these sketches here. And what might be coming down the line is some additional things like this for future screens and for screening work and so forth. I just thought I'd bring along again some other examples for clients that I work with on HVAC systems and washing machines and dryers and the like, with a variety of clients here. So again, what I'm trying to illustrate here with this final wrap up here, just really interesting how working with the idea of gestures and again animation, how we can put a lot of color, and sometimes you get a lot of information, for example, in the form itself, leaving some of the paper come through, but even some of the backgrounds with dry pastel and reflecting some of that back into the upper lid. That's one example. We'll start looking at some of this stuff down the line as we go through the year here. Another example, using some background information to give some excitement and so forth. Again, another washer dryer system for, in this case, Whirlpool Corporation. And again, these are some copier studies. Again, notice, again, very simple graphics. And pay attention to some of the direction of the actual marker itself and how they begin to work here together. Some paper coming through, even though it's a light marker, I consider that is a light marker approach. So what do you think, gang? Is this helping? I mean, just trying to wrap it all up with some of the variations on theme. We've gone through 4 demos here today, but there's a lot more to it than I can begin to imagine. So I'll hold on for a moment here to give you a little bit of time here to work with this thing. So to get you some input here, hopefully, get it to work good. I hope this has really been helpful. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of information, but I wanted to make sure today that we kind of got into the whole concept of just doing a lot of neat stuff with, again, the idea of gesture and the idea of animation. So thumbnail sketches, ballpoint pen studies, same thing here, same thing, copier systems again. Notice again, a little bit of drawing back in. Notice a lot of paper, a lot of that tone work going back to the light source and the vanishing point. And then again, this guy, a series of, this is done for Frigidaire, some very simple microwave ovens and so forth. But again, notice a lot of gesture in here and putting form together and really spelling out the concept. This is a simple line drawing, a little bit of tone to it, and adding some of the reflections back into the actual upper of the machine itself. And again, one more here, another flat yellow, for example, microwave, a lot more reflection in the glass, little changes in through here, etc. I'm trying to do is highlight for us what is taking place with all this stuff to work with here. So so much to it, and I realize it's extremely infinite, and I'm certainly not a stranger to that game. There's an awful lot of work involved in this, not for mind of it, but the actual theme or the actual concept of being creative. So I hope this has been of some help for you today. Thank you so much. I went a little bit long today, but a lot of good things hopefully taking place, and it's been of some benefit to you. Once again, thank you so much. Those of you who are viewing or watching today, much appreciated. I hope it's been helpful to you as much as I've had fun putting it together. I want to keep the sketches loose, very ethereal. For example, the last architectural piece, a little bit flatter, not as animated. This guy, a little more metallic and reflective interior space in a vehicle study. Again, getting the whole idea, again, light to dark, and honor light source. And the first two done, product work. Getting back in and doing some really quick stuff with this whole idea of marker technique. I think that's going to wrap it up for this series, unless you have some questions about it. I can add some things maybe next week, but I'm going to switch gears, and I think it may be helpful now, after this has been established, to go back to basic sketch theme work and also do some line weight work, so the value of line weight, what that does for us, how to develop near and close space and far space, and the middles and the mediums in between. So again, much appreciate the time here, gang, today. So grateful to have you on board. Those of you watching, thank you. I hope we'll see you next Wednesday. And if Dakota, if you're watching today, I'll try to get back to that sketch today that you did and sent me, the most recent one you sent. I'll get a chance to look at that sometime throughout the week here, and I'll definitely get back with you. And then Terrace, thank you so much for your sketches that you sent along. I'll take a good look at those and get you some feedback before you head out. And just have a lot of fun with this thing. And Wild Goose, you said you were going to mention to me last week, I think you're going to bring some sketches along and send me some. Please do. I'd be happy to look at them and help you all I can. Last but not least, folks, please visit my website, drcontrast.com. If you have any questions or concerns I can help with you or work with you on, feel free to always email me at jim@drcontrast.com. I'll be happy to help you in any way I can, and if I can. So thank you again for tuning in. Great to be with you today. We'll see you next week, hopefully without any delay. Hopefully the schedule will maintain itself. And above all else, oh, hey, I'm Dakota. How are you? I didn't know that's you. Geez, how about that? Thank you so much for joining the forces here. Great. Fantastic. Very good. So that's you. Where about you from, Dakota? Where's home base? I am so sorry. But I'll make sure we get those sketches looked at. The last two you sent. One of the speakers did one of the headsets here. So where are you from, if I'm not asking here? I'm not out of order. I'd just like to know where you're located so we can get an idea where you're from here and take it from there, gang. It's just been great. And by the way, too, Dakota, your sketches have come a long way, too. Not thinking about in Bronx, New York, but I'm in Maryland. Oh, it's super. Thank you so much for joining forces. Hope to see you next week and take the time to, keep sending me work. If you need some help on some things, I'll be more than happy to help in Maryland. That's great. Thank you so much, Wild Goose. That's great. And I'm sorry I didn't recognize that's your call sign. So all the best. Mine is Jim at drcontrast.com. It's an honor to be with you. I'm really privileged to be a part of this process. And I really hope this has been of some help. It always helps me. I mean, no matter how much I practice, no matter how much I do, there's always something to learn. And I'll close with this, and I hope I can make this very clear. Every time I get on the air here, I try to make this very, very possible. If we're too big to do the little things, we're too little to do the big things. These are little things that make enormous difference in the spirit we work with and sending it out to our clients. They'll respect us. They'll bring us back. As I said earlier in the stream, I've had the same client base, some like 30 some odd clients for the last 15 to 20 years. It's just been terrific. So I've been very fortunate. All the best to you. We'll see you next Wednesday. Take care of yourself. And never forget to dare to remember, to dare to be great, because you are. All the best, gang. Thank you. We'll see you.